It's match day 3, AFC Bournemouth versus Tottenham Hotspur. Welcome to Paxton Road TV. Welcome to PRTv. Hit the title. Welcome, good evening, and thank you for joining us on the preview show FC Bournemouth versus Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Joining me is my sidekick, the main man, the one and only, Sam Spurs for Life. Good evening, Sam. How are we this week?
All right, a little bit low down, that's all. Let me just try and get this a little bit better. I think that's better. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Very well. Looking forward to the game. Going to Barcelona on Sunday, so yeah, life's good.
That's good. That's good. If you're joining us for the first time, make sure you smash like, subscribe to the channel Paxton Road TV and also PRTv, which we'll be going over to at some point. Welcome to everyone that's joined us this evening as well. Please put your comments in as well. Preview show, predictions, what you think the team lineup's going to be. As always, we'll get through the comments as well. How you're feeling? How's your week been? Because it's not usual where Spurs fans are in a good mood throughout the whole week after a great performance last week. So we play Bournemouth tomorrow, AFC at the Vitality Stadium. Will it be Spurs needing the energy drink, or will it be Bournemouth that will be needing an energy drink, or Vitality, should I say? Anyway, Sam, going on from last week's performance, good win, good performances from certain players. I've just listened to Ange Postecoglou's press conference as well. It's, as always, riveting when he speaks because he just says it how it is. Going into the game tomorrow then, how confident are you? How confident are the fans? And also, how confident will the players and the environment at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club be?
Well, I've not personally seen the pre-match press conference to see what I can imagine that he, as you said, he answers very honestly. So he can honestly say about his team that there's still a work in progress. There's still good things that he's seen. There's other stuff that's not so good, and there's improvements to be made. There's clearly steps that have been made. We can see that, and so if we look at the football that's been played over the last 2 games, massive difference from last season, as we've talked about many times. So we should be looking to Bournemouth being Bournemouth. Teams look at us as being Tottenham. I guess we have the same sort of thing. Well, it's Bournemouth. We should be going to this game pretty confident, having played Brentford away on the first day of the season, which is always going to be tough. We see that Brentford won, I think, 3-0 the other day. And Man United, being Man United, never lost at our ground. Got this terrible record against them. And we got a victory over them. So we got 4 points from 6. Now, this is a real test for me. This is the real acid test. I'm confident. I am confident. And that's what I'm going to leave it at. There's no more Dr. Tottenhams as far as I'm concerned, because the way we play, if we get it right, we should win tomorrow's game. So very confident going into it.
Yeah, I think all the Spurs fans will be very confident because the mood everywhere at the moment, well, not just now, but even when Ange Postecoglou came in and pre-season, it's been very positive. All the negative vibes have gone out the window. The only negative vibes are the outgoings, where a lot of people are getting really peed off now because we've got 1 week left and doesn't seem to be a lot of outgoings, or if there is, it's all loans and stuff like that. So that's the main gripes. Apart from that, I think everyone's quite in a joyous mood. They're watching football, entertaining football. It's none of these Mourinho or Conte boring football that we was watching. Now we've actually seen some exciting football. A manager who wants to play football and has told his players, go out there and let's play football. Just like to welcome Sean, our very own Sean Hurl in the house, Johnny Bethnal Green, /Kent, Davy Clocks in the house, Good Bits and ENT's in the house, Judelet's in the house. Good evening all. We will go through your comments as well as you're going through. But as we are here for a reason, And that reason is Bournemouth versus Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. So let's have a look. Tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. at the Vitality Stadium. I don't know about you, Sam, but I don't like these 12:30 kickoffs.
You know what? I don't. For me, I personally like them. I like them because you can get the game out of the way. If you win, everything's great. You know what I mean? For the weekend, it's from a personal perspective. If you're looking at it from a Tottenham team perspective, yeah, I guess early kickers don't really suit a lot of footballers anyway. I think they'd rather be 3 o'clock or later, just for getting up factors. But for me personally, yeah, I like a Saturday because it's the first game, isn't it? If you win, you can chat to everybody. You can tell them everything. Yeah, whatever. If you lose, it's a long weekend. So
yeah,
it's a toss of a coin. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it being the first game tomorrow.
Second game. First game tomorrow on Saturday, but I think the actual first game is Chelsea tonight.
Chelsea Luton. Yeah.
So, right. So, let's get the road on the show. We have played Bournemouth 12 times. Bournemouth have won twice. We have won 8 times. Bournemouth have beaten us twice at the Vitality. We've won 3 away. And then 5 at home, 2 away, and we've had 2 draws. Again, I'm going to ask you this question. I ask you this week in, week out. We've only played them 12 times, but we've got 3 aways, and they've won twice at home. So it's neither here nor there, is it?
Well, you can see from the stats that we've been in the Premier League for the duration. They haven't. So we've only played them that many times because they haven't been in the Premier League. So if you're looking at it from a historical perspective, they're not a team that's they've been in the Premier League 20-odd years. The last game we played against them, I believe we went down 2-0. We ended up winning that game 3-2 at the Vitality. Somehow. Was that the game? Yeah, we went 2-0.
Yeah.
We won 3-2. Under Conte. I don't know how we did that. I'm looking at all those games now thinking, how the hell did we do that? It's a different Tottenham now. And I don't think these records per se matter. Because the style of football going into these games will be a lot different than what we've seen probably in the past with some of these performances that we've had. So I'm going to take it to the fact that it's going to be an open game because I expect Bournemouth to want to play open football. But then again, saying that, they might not. They went to Liverpool and did it. So I would expect to do it at home. But then they might have watched us and thought, you know what? They're better than Liverpool on the ball. So we might not want to do that. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. Right. So, previous 5 meetings. I know you're going to say to me, well, you know what? It is what it is. But we've not played them that many times, but we still have to go through it all. May the 19th, Bournemouth 1, Spurs 0 at the Vitality. 30th of November 2019 at the Hotspur Stadium. Spurs 3, Bournemouth 2. You're going to like this 3-2 bit, you know, because there seems to be a little bit of a run in that. 9th of July 2020, it was 0-0. 29th of October 2022. Guess what score it was?
2-2.
Wrong. 2-3 to Spurs. And at the Vitality. 15th of April 2022 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What score was it?
That was a draw, wasn't it?
Right, listen. If you was in school now, you'd be getting told off for not listening. When I said to you the 2019 3-2, I said, what did I say? Watch out for this scoreline. Yeah, you don't listen, do you? Right.
Yeah, but I was looking for 2 draws in there and I couldn't see the 2 draws. Did we get another draw? Oh,
it was 3-2. Yeah, it was 3-2 to them. Remember, they nicked it towards the end as well.
Yeah, I do remember now. Yes, I do remember now.
So, looking at that, it's 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. And there's a lot of 3-2s in there as well. So, you know.
I look at that. The first thing to point out is, I think we've got 2. There's 4 different managers that would manage us for those 5 games. That first game was under Poch. The one, I think Poch had gone by November. So that would have been under Mourinho. And then we had the Nuno-esque, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was 2020. No, that might still be for because Nuno, they weren't in the Premiership so Nuno was gone. Thank God. And then the other two were Conte. So 3 managers supposedly. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just got Nuno on head. So yeah, it's been on the 3 managers, 3 different styles of football. And so can we really take away a lot from it apart from the scorelines? Well, it shows that they're open games apart from that 0-0 that's in the middle and the 1-0 down the bottom. I expect it to be another open game, and I do expect it to be quite high scoring as well. So yes, in some ways it does matter because, again, you can go there and think to yourself, right, we've done well at their place. But it looks like, Spurs. I want to see the mentality. That's what I want to see tomorrow, the mentality.
Yeah. Do you know what? I agree. I mean, it, like you said, the previous managers, it was either boring football in terms of 0-0, 1-0s, and then you got a little bit of entertainment somewhere along the lines with 3-2s, 2-3s, and then 2-3s. That's Conte actually, and both them last 2 games, they were
they were Conte.
Yeah, 2-0 down, and then we won 3-2, and then the last one, I think they come back and they beat us. And if I'm right, I think they were quite good that day. We was awful at the Hotspur Stadium, so it's gonna be an interesting one. I mean, in terms of score lines, like I said,
I think by that April time, because that had we gone through the meltdown by then.
Yeah,
Conte meltdown. Yeah, Conte meltdown.
Yeah, exactly. Sean Hurley is saying here, like, comment, and subscribe, people. Madders is fit as according to Angie. Johnny Bethnal Green. Evening, Sheila's. David Clark, hi from Leicester. I see Divine Parrot are out on loan again to clubs that won't prove they can make it at Spurs. I think this is Parrot's last hurrah.
He'll never play for Spurs. I'll tell you
that. He's done. He's done, yeah. Good beats. Think Madder should be rested. No need to take any risk. We'll talk about that later. It's good evening. Jew's not his lefty scoreline, but we'll come back to that later on. David Clark is talking about changes. We'll talk about that later on. Good evening to Nita R. Hi guys, I hope you're well, and hi to all in the chat. And then everyone's talking about the scores and that, so we will come back to that one very soon, and team as well. Let's go back to this, Sam. And okay, match day 1, Brentford 2, Spurs 2. It was Bournemouth 1, West Ham United 1. So both of us on match day 1 got a point each. Match day 2, as everyone knows, Spurs 2, don't cry for me, Bruno Fernandes. Manchester United 0, and Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 1. Season so far, I know it's only 2 games in, but I might as well put it in. Bournemouth 14, Spurs 6. We've won 1, they've lost 1. We've both drawn 1 each. They've lost 1, we haven't yet. Average goals 2 to Tottenham, 1 for Bournemouth. Average goals conceded 2 to them, 1 for us. 1 clean sheet for Vicario. Chances created 1.5. They haven't had 14. I don't know what's happened there. And biggest win, we've won 2-0. Man United, and they lost 3-1 to Bournemouth. That means nothing in terms of last results and stuff like that. Going into this game tomorrow then, Sam, we'll talk about the team lineup as well. In terms of both management types, I know you sort of touched upon it. What will the Bournemouth manager be saying, and what will Postecoglou be saying?
I don't know. I don't even know the Bournemouth manager's name. That's not being disrespectful. I don't even know. Obviously, Gary Neal was there. They got rid of him. I don't know why he kept him up. Basically, kept him in the division, but he's got another job. So they were obviously looking to play a different style of football, which is the only reason why I can imagine they would have got rid of Gary O'Neill at the time. I didn't see the West Ham game.
Yeah,
but I did see the Liverpool highlights. And they went for it. They went for it in that third. Liverpool weren't good, but they did go for it in terms of Bournemouth. They were very attacking. So I'm assuming the attacking style of football is what they want to see being played. So good things for us is if they are going to do that away from home at Anfield, because anybody that goes to Anfield and starts that way, you got to have some balls about you. Let's hope they do that at home, because everything in terms of that will create spaces. Any team that goes to attack, you've got to create the spaces to be able to do that. It will play into our hands. I think it's going to be a very end-to-end game. And I think the Bournemouth manager will probably say, listen, it's early days. We've had one draw at home. Let's give our fans something. So I don't expect them to play anything defensively. I don't expect them to be in their shell. I expect the crowd to be behind them. And again, atmosphere will be good. It'll be good for us as well, because we like to play I think they like to play under that pressure now. I can actually say these players, having watched that Man United game, some of them appear to like that situation. Now, if that's all good signs that we've got coming forward, then I'm looking forward to all our games that we play this season. So, yeah, I think it's going to be open game, Sid, and I think it's going to be some scores, some goals in there, should I say.
We'll talk about that. The Bournemouth manager's called Andoni Iraola. Andoni Iraola. Do you know what? New manager, at the club, like you said, you mentioned, he's obviously gone in there now. He'll have his philosophy. He'll have the way. He'll be trying to get the players to play the way he wants to. You've got the likes of Solanke. They've made a couple of good signings as well. And it'll be interesting because he'll want to be testing the waters. All right, they got beat by Liverpool. They drew with West Ham. For him at the moment, it's just touch and go with trying to get his system in place. They probably won't want to be playing Spurs at this precise moment, but it's for him. It's a test. To have Liverpool and Tottenham within the first 3 games, it'll probably be a test for him. And then I think from there, it'll probably be, right, okay, so this is how I need to start playing. This is what I need to drill into the players and that. And as for Postecoglou, I think it'll be business as normal. Like I said, I saw the press conference today. He's confident. He said, like, you know what? They got to play the way I'm telling them to play. It's still going to take them a bit of time, but we'll get around to it. They'll get around to it. I'm not going to make changes for the sake of making changes. So, that's refreshing to hear as well. Sean is saying here, the new coach at Bournemouth is a high press coach. Was that Rayo Vallecano and thrilling stuff. Mate of Arteta from school. So
didn't even need to know that. That's what I'm saying. They don't get rid of someone that keeps you up to bring someone in as a defensive manager. That was, an obvious thing that they were going to do. So, yeah, you can see that.
This is it. Right. So everybody was talking about the team news. And as far as I'm aware, he said that Madders is fit. There's no other injuries. Questions were also asked about, obviously, if Madders wasn't fit, would you have played Giovanni Lo Celso? What would you have been your formation? Would you have tweaked it? And stuff like that. And his answer was, I'm not going into games with like-for-like players ready. I'm going into games to win games. I've got players. I've got a squad of players. And just because a player is going to be out, I'm not going to bring in a player like for like. If I have to swap it around, I'll swap it around. But it doesn't mean if my players are injured, I'm just going to do it like for like. And he said, it's a squad. I need to get more players. And we've taken into consideration that injuries are going to happen. Other teams already had injuries. So he said, that's why I need a squad of players. So on that count, I've done 2 teams now, right? This is the team. This first one's, I think, the team that I would play. And then the second one, I think now with Madders fit, is what Ange Postecoglou is going to play. So this is what I would like to see. I don't know if everybody in the comment section, I don't know about you, Sam, I don't know if you will agree, but for me, it would be Vicario in goal. I'd put Emerson Royal in at right back. Udogie, Romero, and Van der Ven. Because the first game, he started with Royal, then he put Poro for the second game. So I'd then go back to Royal. That's me personally. Basuma, Papasar. But this is where it gets interesting. When I done this team, I didn't know that Madders was going to pass fit. I thought he was going to be injured. And I've tweaked it a little bit because the answer was putting GLC, my favourite all-time player at Spurs. Not. Like for like replacement. But I've tweaked it a little bit, right? And I would put Kulu there, right? Perisic on the left, Son on the right with Richie up top. I'd do it that way because Kulu likes to come in a lot. And from what we've seen last couple of games, this is what he's doing. So I think instead of playing Giovanni, I'd play Kulusevski like that. What do you think of that team, Sam? And people in the comments?
To be honest with you, I think away from home is probably too many changes in personnel positions for that to happen. If it was at home, I could more see that. To play Kulu as number 8, if he hasn't played a competitive game there for us, it would be difficult. Not to say that he couldn't do it, but this is serious business now. This ain't friendlies anymore. We got to get 3 points. So you don't want to be experimenting too much, knowing players if you haven't already seen that in training. I don't think you would have seen enough of that. So I would probably have put Kulusevski back to the right. I'd probably put Son back to the left. If Maddison was injured, that was the tough one for me because away from home, do you trust GLC to come in and do Maddison's job? You have to, based on pre-season, you'd have to. But then you could say, could Skip play there? He could, but he'd probably give you a different type of ball possession, different type of threat going forward. You play Hojbjerg there, again, different type of player. If you want to keep the same sort of impetus that we had from that game that we played in the first two, you'd have to play GLC because he's the most similar type player. So this comment that Postecoglou's made, he's not playing like for like, well, I'm not sure what that means because his system is very much a system of positional play based on, the 2-3-2-3 kind of thing. So I'm not sure what that means.
What he said was, obviously, because Maddis is injured, it doesn't necessarily mean I have to bring in a player as equal as him. He said, I've got Skip. He said, I've got Hojbjerg as well on the bench. He says, I can use them if I want to. He says, I'm not going to, So he says, I'm not going to go out and replace a player just because I have to replace that player of the way he plays and stuff. He said, I've got other players on the bench that I can utilize and I will. So,
So, and again, I understand that. So he's relying on the intelligence of these players because it's positional play. It's not necessarily what we're going to play a 4-4-1 or we're going to play this 4-2-1-3. On paper, it looks like it's a 2-3-2-3 because you've got the number 6 and you've got the 2 fullbacks and then you've got 2 ahead. Last week, that was potentially Maddison and Sarr. But now, if you watch the game and I've watched it back, they were all over the place. First half, Maddison was quite close in. At times, he was playing as the highest player, even further ahead than Richarlison. So he was playing as a false 9. Second half, he drifted more to the left. Papa Sarr was more advanced. He came more from the right-hand side. If you watch where his goal, where Papa Sarr scored from, he came from the right, went all the way across the pitch, ended up in the box. Basuma is probably the only player that's got that role where he's in that sort of position in midfield. Everybody else is kind of rotational. Do you know what I'm saying? So he is right in what he says, but there is a fundamental type of skill that you require. If you're going to be an attacking football team, you're probably not going to want, creative team that's got someone who's pulling the strings. That's Maddison. If you don't have a Maddison in our team, Skip's not that player.
Of course not.
Hojbjerg's not that player. Basuma, unless you play him higher up, he's not going to be that player. So you're going to have to put GLC in there, your favourite man. So, I think he's going to... If that was the case, I think he would have played GLC tomorrow.
Yeah, very international formation. Where's Dyer? Hopefully at Fulham. David Clark is here. Agree. Ange won't make those changes. Royal, yes. Kulu, not a chance in hell as a number 8. He will start with what he perceives as his starters, but will replace them during a game if they are not performing. I was just playing, I was just experimenting, but here we go. This is the actual team that I think he will go with. Vicario in goal, Pedro Porro as right back, Destin Udogie, Christian Romero, Van der Ven, Bissouma, Papa Sarr, Maddison, Kulu, Son, and Richarlison. Now, this, I think, will be the team, but the question marks will be on this one, how fit he is. And I think Ange will take precautions, and I think he might start him on the bench because, obviously, if he's had that niggle, and he said he was training today, but I think this was the first day he trained since the injury. I'm not too sure he will be a starter tomorrow. So I think GLC will be in that position tomorrow. Thoughts on that one?
I'm going to disagree. The reason I'm going to disagree is if he wasn't able to play, he wouldn't have even mentioned him being fit. The fact he did the same thing with Romero. We had the head injury and was like, is he going to play? He only had one training session, but because he was fit, because they've gone through preseason, you're early part of the season, you can be off for 3 or 4 days and your fitness isn't going to dwindle that much. You know, you're not tired, but you don't need to get that rest. So they are fit. They would have been doing something. So I think he'll start. What else was I going to say? I was going to say something about that team. I don't think you can drop Papa Sarr. I just don't think you can change that midfield from the way that those three played against Manchester United. It would be, in my opinion, criminal. And to bring to bring Emerson back in for Porro, again, based on what I saw attacking wise, I want to see what these players can do because that's ultimately his philosophy. He's not a defensive manager. So he wants as many attacking players as possible. And that, I think, gives as much attacking intent as we can get.
Yeah, I think David Clark saying Lo Celso is the obvious replacement for Maddison because he's a creative player who goes past opponents, creating and scoring. Yeah, I totally agree, David. If Ange thinks Maddison's not 100%, but I agree with you what you said, Sam. If he's saying he's fit and he trained today, then I think Maddison starts.
And the other thing I just wanted to add to that, Sid, before you finish off, we've got Fulham on Tuesday. There's an opportunity to play players in there that are not starting today because it's a League Cup game.
Yeah, we've got 3 games next week, so there will be changes between now and next week. David, yeah, I totally agree. Nita are saying, yeah, I want Porro to play in the middle, not just tomorrow, if need be. Personally, I think that's where he should be in the team. I don't think so about that one.
Porro?
Yeah, Pedro Porro in the middle. No, I don't think
talking about somebody else.
You're on about Pedro Porro, Nita, because we bought him as a wing back, right wing back, stroke right back. There's no way he's going to play in that middle. Because we watched him last week, and when he was sort of, I don't know what you sound, but there was a lot of times he was playing as in the middle, and I'm like, what are you doing, young man? What are you doing? I don't think he's got it in him to be playing in that middle.
He needs coaching. Gary Neville got it spot on. If you're a fullback, you're used to receiving the ball in a certain way. You're not used to receiving the ball with your back to goal effectively. So when you're playing in the middle, a lot of the time, if you're receiving your back to goal, they say you should be on the half turn. You're supposed to be on the half turn, but it's something that you've got to be drilled into if you're not used to doing it. Most players who play in midfield, they know about being on the half turn. If you're a wide player, you can see everything infield. There's nothing behind you. There's nothing really that you've got to worry about. So you don't have to be checking your shoulder. All you've got to do is look in front of you. So they don't have to have that ability to check the shoulders like midfielders do. So he just needs to be coached. You know what I mean? Coaching to receive the ball on the half turn, check your shoulder. It's simple stuff. If you can get kids to do it, you can get grown men to do it.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. There was something I wanted to ask you, actually. 1 second. In terms of the team, right? In terms of the team that played last week and the team, which is this one, right? Is it then for all of these, like the back line? Is it business as usual? Do what you done last week. Midfielders, Papa Sarr, Bissouma, Maddison, carry on what you did, right? These 3 up top. I mean, in the press conference, they asked him about Richarlison, and they said, "Are you going in for another striker? What did you think of Richarlison's performance?" Because I think one of the reporters said Richarlison seemed peed off when he went off the pitch, and Ange said he seemed peed off because he didn't score and his own personal performance. And then he said, "For me, I don't think he had a bad game. He done a lot of positive things for us. He was up there, he was hustling, he was, winning the ball, and he was coming back." So he goes, "Personally, I think he had a great game." I think that shut the reporter up. The back 4 and the middle 3, I don't have an issue with, because they're going to go out there and they're going to do what they're going to do, because these 2 in the middle, well, the 3 in the middle, I mean, the confidence will be off the roof. It'll be absolutely off the roof. Papa Sarr, Bissouma and Maddison. They probably can't wait to get the next match they're going. My only concern, and I don't know if you agree, and people in the comments, is these 3, they've not hit the ground running. You've said that this Richarlison's got until
5 games. He's on game 3 of 5. Come
Yeah.
tomorrow, game 3 of 5.
Game 3 of 5. Son as captain, I think, needs to up his game, and Kulu as well. Agree on that? Have the front three got a lot of work to do?
Well, there was improvements from the first game from both Kulusevski and Son. I think Son had a better game. I watched it a bit more closely. He did a lot of things. He did a lot of things, and he was very positive. He was playing a captain's role, but there was a couple of crosses which were wayward. There was a couple of touches that were wayward, a couple of passes that were wayward. His all-round play in terms of get it, give it, isn't great. If you watch him, he's not great at his passing. He's not great with some of his crossing. What Son is good at, he's good at isolating defenders. He's good at, like, getting into position and getting that shot off right or left foot. He does need to do more. That goes without saying, but he's been made captain for a reason. So it's going to be very difficult to say to your captain, you're made captain, but, I'm not going to play you this. It becomes a little bit more of a problem to do that. Kulusevski, he just needs to go down the right-hand side a little bit more. We got the goal from it. He didn't cut in. The reason being Luke Shaw didn't come across. Also, Garnacho couldn't catch up. So he just kept on going. But he has to go on that right outside a little bit more. If we can do that and he can vary that as opposed to just coming inside, it will give the defenders a lot more to think about. But they do need to do more. They need to score goals tomorrow. They haven't scored any goals for us so far, have they, the front three?
No, because it was Romero and Royal, and then obviously one on goal and
Papassar.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I'm not saying definitely because I've not got a crystal ball or I can't predict anything, but I would imagine that Harry Kane would have probably scored in one of those 2 games, given the chances that we've created.
Yeah. Sean Hurley
not to go back to him anymore. He's gone.
Of course, yeah. Angie's right on Richarlison. Took a lot of kicks from Martinez. The inverted wingers are killing the number 9 service. I think we mentioned this a lot in the reaction show about the amount of times the wingers had time to go down the wing past the players, but they chose to come either inwards or backwards, which then killed the service to Richarlison. And as much as Richarlison can do all the running and be in the right places at the right time, if these two are not going to get past the defenders and try and get the ball into him, then there's going to be a problem. And at the moment, Son and Richarlison Son and Kulu want to come in, which is a massive problem.
But there is reasons for that. Like I said, the reasons why the inverted players in the forward areas come in and why they do that sort of thing is because it does leave space on the outside, which is where they have to have intelligent players, as in the fullbacks, going in those spaces. If you watch Jodi, he was doing more so going, and even Porro was doing a little bit more going around the outside of Kulusevski than what Emerson did the week before. So, yeah, if they come inside, provided somebody does that role and goes on the outside of him at some point. If you watch a couple of times, we did that, and that's where, players got played in. Porro did that a few times in the game. So it's just about get that cohesion. If they see players do that, it's now the mentality, the intelligence of these players. Right, that's the position. And they've done it on, various different podcasts, which I've seen where they've got the triangle. That's an obvious thing where you've got the triangle movements. So triangle positioning where there's a point to play. So they've just got to keep learning. That's why I think they've got to keep the same team.
So Juice Nuts is saying either 3 of the 5 games mentioned for Richarlison should also apply to Kulu on Son too. I think so. I agree with that. Boy,
slightly disagree because Richarlison has got more to prove than both those other 2. Those 2 have got things to prove, but we've seen them do it already. I don't think any one of us can say we've seen Richarlison do anything at Spurs. I know he's had his injuries and I know he had Harry Kane in front of him. But could you hand on heart say, yeah, I'm confident? You could say that about Son. If he gets it right, we know what a player we've got. If Kulusevski gets it right, we know what a player we've got. I can't say that about Richarlison. I really can't. Not in a Spurs shirt.
You've got to then have wingers that are going to be willing to come in and put that ball in the box, because sometimes that's the kind of play he does. And if these 2 are not doing that, and if they're not performing, then he's not going to. I hear you. I mean, it's a very tricky one.
So the problem we've got with Richarlison in terms of the type of player he is, he's a player that likes to play on the shoulder and plays in behind the players. If you've got a deep line defense, you haven't got that space in behind. So he has to play with his back to goal more so. That's not his game. Marcus Rashford, that's not his game. He likes to have space in behind. When you play a high line, which is what I'm hoping Bournemouth do, we might see a better outcome for Richarlison tomorrow because he will have that space in behind. When we play teams like Manchester City, when we play teams like that's why I'm not bothered about playing any of them good teams or teams who will possession who play high, because he'll have opportunities to go in behind. It's Man United, they basically played a low block for most of the game, you know, after about 30 minutes. So he's not going to have the space that he needs to play his type of game.
David Clark is saying here, no, you're wrong. The fullbacks are designed to be inverted. They are more likely to end up like Davis did in the centre forward position than on the wing.
At times, they will, obviously. But what I'm saying is you can't all be in there. So if Son's there, you're not going to have Destiny there as well. You know, so they have to get positional play. So if one of them's there, the other one has to be on the outside. But he's right, more so than not, he'll want them to get into that sort of position.
Solomon has to get minutes after the hour mark in the team. He will create havoc to opponents late in the games. Agree, Solomon is mustard. I think what I saw of him, he seems like he's going to be quick and he's going to cause a lot of problems. He might be that last 20-minute man to come on against certain teams. I don't know whether he'll be a starter all the time, but we've got 3 games in 7 days, so I think I reckon he'll start against Fulham. I think he'll be a starter at Fulham. Let's have a look. Sean Hurley saying here, did I hear you, Sam, say Gary Neville and spot on in the same sentence? Chris Agombo's in the house. Big up, lads. Everyone in the chat. Good evening, Chris. Good evening also to Jodi's. Yo, what's up, guys? Andrew will keep his cards close to his chest. Changes at 60-70 minutes will demand pace on the ball. I think we've seen that, haven't we, where 60-70 minutes, I think I agree with Sean on that one. I think with Ange, I think that's what we're going to see. Unless it's a forced injury, I think he won't make substitutions until the 60s, around 60-minute mark, compared to some other previous managers. Would you be happy with that?
Will he do that if you're losing 2-0?
Well,
it's circumstances. Circumstances dictate any. If you're winning 1-0 and he's comfortable in doing that, Arsene Wenger was very much like that. He made his, going back to Arsene Wenger days, there's quite a few managers that do that. But you have to change things if things are not going right. If you're 2-0 down, you're not going to wait till 75 minutes. The game will be dictated by what happens in it. And if Bournemouth get the first goal, it might change his mentality and what we have to do if we're still losing that 60 minutes, let's say. True.
I think the games will dictate substitutions, and I agree with you. If we are losing 2-0 at some point, and if then I think he'll make the substitutions as and when he needs to.
The only reason I mentioned that, Sid, is because in both those games, both the teams that we've played, their XGs were very close to ours. Manchester United was greater than ours, so that means they had chances. I expect Bournemouth to create chances. The more we play, the better we're going to be keeping them out defensively, but they're still going to be open games. Now, had they did what they did against Liverpool, who knows? You know, it's a different game. They scored 2 goals quickly. Liverpool might not have won that game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's have a look. Anita always saying, I think Angie's playing him at the back as that's the area we had the problems most of last season. I think she's referring to Pedro Porro here.
She might be saying that Porro can play as a right winger. Is that what she said? But she said about the middle. I don't think he was playing in the middle.
She said, there we go. Yes, he has played that position. Players can adapt left wing, right wing. I don't have a problem with him playing left wing, right wing, but in that middle is the problem. I don't think.
I'd have a problem.
I think we've got better players in that middle for him to play. Certainly. What's the point? FC saying good evening, everyone. Good evening, David Clocky. This one, I don't rate Richarlison, but you can't blame Richarlison, who's a target man like Soldado. On both occasions, Spurs played inverted wingers. It's crazy. If I was Richarlison, I would be pissed off. Now, so let me ask you this question then. If you're Richarlison, right, you've given him 5 games, yeah? If he's not getting that service, right, from the wingmen, inverted or not inverted wingers, you're not getting that service. He's in the right place at the right time every single time, but the ball's not being played to him. he doesn't score in them 5 games. Is that his fault?
Yes.
How is that his fault if he's not being given the ball?
Because you have to create your opportunities as well. Sometimes, yes, I'm not saying that he's gonna score in those situations more often than not, because he's the type of player that likes to run in behind. But what you've got to do is adapt your game. If you know that the players, because they must be doing this in training. It's not like they do wide players, they do wide work in training and they're going on the outside, and then all of a sudden in the games they're coming inside. So what they do in training is they usually replicate that in the game. So he must be being coached through this. It's about movement. Players come inside, your movement's got to be almost opposite. Or does he drop back? Harry Kane was very good at coming out of that space to allow players to go into it. He wasn't always in that high number 9. But what Harry Kane was also, he was a finisher. He could get on the end of things. His goal scoring record does that. Richarlison is neither. His goal scoring record doesn't show that he's a poacher, and he's not a player that drifts out into the number 10 position, picks the ball up and sprays it. He likes to run in behind. He likes to be busy. I want to see him just knock one in from like 5 yards if he gets an opportunity to. We'll see if he does that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, one thing is for sure, and I don't know whether, agree or not agree. And I've said this, I don't think there's any more incomings, because he was asked that question again today, and he did say, well, if the opportunity arises, yes. But I think that 100 million is already spent on Maddison, Vicario, Van der Veen. Honestly, I don't know what's going on, because apparently Levy's running the show with in terms of buying. Kudus has gone to West Ham United. That's a 40 million. That's a bargain, right? I think he would have been a great player for us. Yeah, I think he'd be a great player, but I don't know what's going on. And the strikers are not available at this precise time unless you're going for Lukaku. Nobody else is available in the market. Who do you go for? There's no recognized number 9s or somebody that we can go and buy straight away. Other teams are interested as well in other players. We've just let Parrott go on loan, so like you said, he's done and dusted. Scarlett's probably the other option. But as it stands now, they've got to get it right with Richarlison, because I can't see anybody else coming in. Velez is coming.
Yeah. There's that comment from David Clark. There's about him not being a target. He's not even a target man. Richarlison's not a target man. In the way that I know a target man. A target man is someone that you play through. You know what I mean? You're going to be there, crosses. I don't remember Richarlison scoring too many headed goals at Everton. I don't remember scoring too many headed goals. So he's not a target man who's going to rely on crosses. What he is good at, he's good at putting a lot of pressure on. He's good at running in behind. He's good at making defenders work hard. When we talked about Richarlison, we always said he's a horrible player to play against. Not because he's banging in a hat-trick every game. It's because he wouldn't give you a piece. He wouldn't give you a break. He was always on you. That's what he does well. His goals records is not a Harry Kane. He can and should adapt to it. It's an opinion, but they don't do things differently in training than what they do in their game unless circumstances dictate that. So they drill these things over and over and over again. I'm a coach, I know. So he must know how to score when they play inverted. What I'm saying is he doesn't have the confidence because he's not got the goals. He just needs a goal to go in. And then you might see a completely different player. So I disagree with Dave's comment on that one.
Son and Kulusevski cut in all the time and congest Richarlison's area. I would agree with this, right? Purely because, and even at last week's game, every time Kulu got the ball on the right in the first half, no matter how much space he had on the wing to run down, he came in. Yeah. There was a few times when Son was crystal clear. Yeah. And I'm talking clear and Billy Crystal, right? On that left-hand side. Acres of space between him and Bissaka. Again, the ball came to him. His first touch was to take it either backwards or in, right? And then they were going in all the time. And I was saying to my boy, I said, what are they doing? Go past down the line, beat your man. But they didn't want to do that. And if they're going to continue doing that, then that middle is going to get congested. And Richarlison can make as many runs as he wants, and then you're going to hope that Richarlison, Son and Kulu can thread that ball through to the middle. That's the only way, I think, for him to score, because they're not going to be going down the byline, crossing the ball in for him to try and header it, because they don't want to do that.
Yeah, and I think possibly they may look at Kulusevski for that reason. But what I'm trying to say is, we see the match day. We see the Saturday or the Sunday, or whenever they play. They've got Monday all the way through. He's a coach. Yeah. They coach these things. So he would have instructions for these players. I want you to do this more often. If they're only cutting inside and he has a halftime team talk, he's not going to say, you're doing something I don't want you to do, so I want you to keep on doing that. He's going to say, try to do this. That's what a coach does. So whether a player goes out and does that is a different matter. If a player constantly does something opposite to what the coach is asking him to do, you can't play that player. Unless, of course, they're Mo Salah, Messi, Ronaldo, who's going to be banging 20 goals for you every 5 games. It's about the group of players that he's got. As I said, if you're coaching these players Monday to Friday, you're going to have gone through all of this. So Richarlison would know how these guys are going to play. His runs have to be different. Yes, sometimes they have to make different runs themselves, go on the outside as opposed to cutting in. But there's a reason why he wants them to cut in, because you can create that space on the wide. And if you watch the game of Manchester United, they was doing that. They came inside and then they had a player going on the outside and they creating space. It's just about football knowledge and football intelligence for these players now. In my opinion.
Agree. Never understand. This is our Dino. So never understand why Levy got Richie and overpaid. I hope Real come in for him at some point. All on my own on PRTv. Ladies and gentlemen, please, Paxton Road TV, and we've got PRTv. We are moving over from Paxton Road TV to PRTv for, obviously, we've got reasons for that. We're moving over to PRTv. So please, if you're going to start streaming and watching us, start using PRTv. And once you get used to that, then week in, week out, that's where all the content will eventually move over to. We don't want you to miss out on anything. We love your input. We love your comments. We don't want you guys trying to get Paxton Road TV when it's going to be faded away. PRTv, if you're following us, please, if you haven't, make sure you subscribe to it. Smash that like button as well and move over to PRTv, because all the content will be moving over. And obviously, Dinosaur wants some company because he's all on his own. All by myself. He doesn't want to be by himself. So, yes. PRTv means Paxton Road TV, Mr. What's the Point FC. PRTv is Paxton Road TV. Right, Sam. It's that time. Everyone's putting their... And I want yours. What is the score prediction for tomorrow's game going to be?
3-1 to Spurs, and I'm going for Richarlison to score 1, Maddison to score 1, and Van der Ven to score 1.
Oh, okay. So 3-2 to Spurs.
3-1 to Spurs.
3-1 to Spurs. 3-1 to Spurs. Okay. Good Beats is saying 3-2. I'm hoping you mean Spurs, right? Because we are away, but I'm assuming he's mean 3-2 Spurs. I'm just looking at some other scores. People have put scores in there, but I cannot find them. I personally think... Where's everyone's scores gone? They've all... all you guys depressed me. Cherries 1, Spurs 2. Sean Hurley saying Spurs 3-1. Son, Maddison, and Bissouma. Okay, that's fine. Right, my prediction is going to be obviously 3-2, 3-2. We've had a lot of 3-3. I think it's going to be a tough game. It's a small ground, Vitality Stadium. They're going to have their fans. It's a compact pitch. Their fans will be behind them, but I still think we'll win. And I'm going with you. You've gone 3-1, haven't you? Yeah, I'm going to go. See, they got Solanke in that as well, aren't they? So they can score. But I'm just going to be different to you. I'm going to go 3-0 to Spurs. I think we're going to keep another clean sheet. And in terms of goal scorers, I think Son will get 1. Richarlison will get 1. And I think Maddison, if he plays, will get 1. Dinosaur's got a good question. Who now takes the penalties for this team? It's going to be Son.
Madison. Oh, it might be Son. Could be Son. But I'd put Madison on if it's me.
I'd take Madison. Yeah. I know it's not Peace and Rice TV. Paxton Road TV. Paxton Road TV.
You know.
Right.
Seriously.
50 minutes for a preview show, but you know what? Lots to talk about. Listen, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for spending your Friday bank holiday weekend. Hope everyone has an excellent bank holiday weekend. Sam, hope you have an excellent bank holiday weekend. Hope you have a great week in Barcelona. And most importantly, come on, you Spurs, tomorrow.
Come on, you Spurs.
12:30 kickoff. No better way to have a bank holiday weekend than Spurs winning again under Angie's system. And I'm loving Angie instead.
Tell them what time the reaction show is, Sid.
Tomorrow, after the game. You're available straight after the game, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, straight after the game, join me, Sam, hopefully our very own Sean and Pav. We'll be here for all the reaction. And we want all you guys there. PRTv as well as Paxton Road TV. And we'll be talking about another great, famous victory where Spurs go marching on.
Develop,